Asana for the sake of Dharma. What is the role of an asana practice in light of the primacy of Dharma? Let me tell you my story, an evolution of personal answer to this question. At the age of 3, I watched my parents practice asana with the yoga teacher now known to the world as BKS Iyengar. At the age of 7, I joined them. I worked hard at the poses, especially because I had to fight inherent stiffness in my body. I learned pose after pose, performing more and more difficult poses each month, progressively transforming the impossible into the possible. In my late teens, I would practice for 7 hours a day, many days in a row. Guruji, as we affectionately called our teacher, would sometimes have me do Viputari Chakranasana, starting in a back bend, walking up a wall, and then kicking over, landing in Uttasana over 150 times. After staying half an hour in a headstand and an hour in a shoulder stand, I would sometimes not be able to turn my head the next day. By the age of 20, I had a repertoire of hundreds of poses, including high-risk poses rarely seen. With Guruji's encouragement, I embarked on a 10-month worldwide and whirlwind teaching tour. At the end of that tour, I lifted some heavy crates for a friend in London and ruptured 2 discs in my lower back. For what seemed like an eternity, I was not able to sit, stand, or walk without excruciating pain. During the long rehab process, Guruji nurtured my spine back to health, and in doing so, revealed a gentle, soft side of his personality I had not seen in yoga classes before. For his exceptional care, I will always feel deep gratitude. I had to start asana all over again. It was agonizing, not so much the physical pain as having to bear the remembrance of what I once did easily and now no longer could. Additionally, the muscles around my pelvis, legs, and spine had seized up to protect my back, and I was now stiffer than most beginners. This whole experience was a profound lesson in humility. As I lay on the bed for countless days, I was forced to examine my dharma and the role the asana practice played in my life. Years later, I watched my wife clinically die 3 times. Through her intense commitment to her soul's purpose, she returned. Once again, I was forced to search for the deeper meaning in my life and the place of my daily asana practice. As I searched, I was assisted by the penetrating and often astonishing insights of my wife, insights that she gained through her own trials and efforts as she strove to manifest divinity in her body and life. I began to discover what was, for me, a new approach to the practice of asana, one that transcended the old approach while incorporating it within a much larger framework. The ancient masters had mentioned this kind of practice, but perhaps I was unable to hear their message until pain had softened my ears and humility my heart. This practice has, at its core, the heart center. I learned to surrender the activity of the brain down to the heart center, as well as lift the energy of the pelvis up towards the heart center. My wife, Mira, reminds me again and again that it is the light in the heart center that holds the secrets to self-knowledge and Dharma, and it is the heart center that is the portal to the universe within. I no longer ask myself or my students to make performance of asana the primary focus. The work now is to explore, discover, grasp, and then lift the awesome grounded power of the pelvis towards the heart center, giving the heart center attention, energy, and nourishment. As my students work in the poses, I also give them techniques to help them surrender the intellectual and analytical abilities of their brain to the inner quest that takes place in the heart. Only when we know our own heart will we really know our heartfelt Dharma. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Ralph Waldo Emerson. We were not sent into this world to do anything into which we cannot put our heart. John Ruskin. I want to know God's thoughts. The rest, details. Albert Einstein. A bird doesn't fly because it has wings. It has wings because it flies. The purpose of the asanas is to make the body strong and the nervous system able to withstand the force of prana, the life force cultivated by the breathing practices known as pranayama. Of course, the purpose of the asanas is to be able to live day-to-day life without aches and pains and to recharge the organs of the body so they exemplify health. When we practice with this understanding, the asanas not only enable us to create a centered life on the outside, but also serve as a bridge to the vastness of the worlds within. The asanas root us in our bodies, stabilizing us so that pranayama and other yogic practices can lift us into the firmament of our Dharma and our true self. In Thoughts and Glimpses, Sri Aurobindo writes, "When we have passed beyond knowings, then we shall have knowledge. Reason was the helper, reason is the bar." The yogic philosophy is similarly evolutionarily. As we evolve, our asana practice remains important, but if we focus entirely on it and make the performance of the poses the end result of our endeavor, our practice becomes an obstacle to our own evolution. Thus, in my evolution, I learned that asana is to be done not for the sake of asana, but for the sake of Dharma. Does the glorious light of your eternal soul really care whether you can open your groin or not? It's wonderful that the potential for opening the groin exists and that opening it makes you stand taller, but where does this fit in the big picture? How does asana practice aid the mandate of the soul? Your practice must serve your dharmic purpose and not itself. When you practice more than is required for living your Dharma, you only feed your ego. If your Dharma is to be an exceptional artist, practicing asana for 10 hours a day not only takes you away from your Dharma, but it also serves the body's ego greed. However, when you pursue your asana practice to help fulfill your Dharma, it becomes imbued with the passion of purpose and is no longer a ceaseless drudgery to appease the aches of the body, nor an endorphin-riddled addiction for a daily high, but a yearning, a calling to be more fully who you are. This is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. George Bernard Shaw. Purpose of the soul. A death-bound littleness is not all we are. Immortal our forgotten vastness. Await discovery in our summit selves. Unmeasured breadths and depths of being are ours. Sri Aurobindo. From the message of the mystical masters of antiquity to the magnificence of Sri Aurobindo, the guidance has always been, go within. Only when we go inside do we really know how to live outside. The path of yoga is, in essence, the path of searching within for one's Dharma, realizing it, and then living it. Thus, yoga not only allows us to find our inner nature, but also offers a method for fulfilling it. A holistic practice integrates all of yoga so that we may be inspired and enabled to embody this quest. We do not enter life with our mind, we enter with our soul. We do not leave life with our mind, we leave with our soul. The babble of the babe and the senile gibber of the aged both contain the presence of the spirit. This spirit must guide our days, fill our hearts, reveal our Dharma, else our departure from life will be tinged with bitter regrets. The soul forever seeks to evolve, and after we are fully living in our Dharma, even that is not the end. Now we are simply in tune with the reason for the soul's incarnation in this body. Now we are in communication with our spirit, yet spirit itself seeks growth and progress. And then the path of Dharma takes on a different purpose, not merely fulfillment of the soul's mission, but evolution, transformation, and the manifestation of the divine consciousness into the material world. Each of us exists for a divine purpose, and our own inner nature knows all. Thus, delving into our innermost nature is delving into the secrets of the universe. We can then realize our delightful uniqueness, act on our innermost passion, and, as we continue to walk on the bright path of yoga, discover the splendor of the soul. There is no end of seeking and of birth. There is no end of dying and return. The life that wins its aim asks greater aims. The life that fails and dies must live again. Till it has found itself, it cannot cease. All must be done for which life and death were made. But who shall say that even then is rest? or their repose and action are the same, in the deep rest of God's supreme delight. Mira's thoughts on Dharma. Realigning yourself every moment with your soul is your only Dharma. When you feel your soul flowing through you, only then are you living Dharma. Even if you are an expert or enjoy your work, if your soul is not engaged, your vocation is not your Dharma. Pray and ask, with every breath at every moment, am I realigning my body and myself with my soul? What is the best action I can take to live my Dharma? Success, wealth, happiness, none are proof that we are living our Dharma. A famous yoga teacher, a movie star, or a wealthy CEO, these are just labels, and the soul doesn't care. Thus, do not go looking for Dharma on the outside. Only the vibrant presence of the soul in every thought, word, and deed is Dharma.